Hello, and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash, and I am here to go over the Week 6 NFL action today. If you're new to the channel, if you would hit the like button and then hit subscribe. After you've done those two things, if you would hit the alarm bell, that will let you know when our newest podcast has gone live or has been posted if it was recorded. If you're new to DFS Coach Talk, you can join us. We have our kickoff special going on right now. For just $45, you will get all of the NFL season, all of NBA up until February 12th, which is the day after the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl. And then, of course, Major League Baseball playoffs we have going too, so you'll get that too. So just $45. What you want to do, send us a DM on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk, or you can email me at jpdavis1982@gmail.com. And today, for those of you who are not members with us yet, I am giving away a 7-day trial membership during the show today. So you want to stay tuned and look forward to that. With that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll go ahead and start off. Let me check the chat, see if there's any questions. Not yet. Started off with the first game of the day, which is going to be the Washington Commanders taking on the Atlanta Falcons. We do have some of the inactives that are coming in now, so that's good. Looks like I'm trying to see if there's anything major for the Washington. I don't have Atlanta's inactives yet. Not yet. Atlanta is favored by 1.5. This line, money line is 125 for Atlanta with an over-under of 42. It's in a dome. The next game is at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Minnesota Vikings taking on the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field. Minnesota's a 3-point favorite, 165, minus 165 on the money line with an over-under of 44.5. It's 28% chance of rain, 53 degrees with the wind blowing north at 17 miles an hour. And go ahead and hit refresh and see if we can get some more inactives. Okay, let's see. Not yet. Next game is at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Seattle Seahawks taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a -3 favorite, 160 on the money line, 45.5 over under, 57 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing to the north. Don't see any major inactives in that game either, so we'll move on to the next one. The San Francisco 49ers taking on the Cleveland Browns. Of course, Cleveland is without Deshaun Watson, so that's the big news for them today. Looks like, looking at the inactives here, Dre Greenlaw is out for San Francisco. That's a pretty big inactive for them for sure on defense. Greenlaw's been playing outstanding. San Francisco is a -9.5 favorite, -510 on the money line, over under of 36, 54 degrees, wind blowing north-northwest at 13 miles an hour. 52% chance of rain. So this is the one game on the early slate that we'll definitely want to keep an eye on as far as weather. Could be some pretty muddy conditions. Two good defenses. Wouldn't expect a whole lot here from a fantasy standpoint. Next game is New Orleans against Houston. New Orleans is a -1.5 favorite, -125 on the money line, 42 over under in a dome. So there's no weather concerns. Let me see if there's an active list. Okay, Tank Dell. Tank Dell is inactive for Houston, so that's going to bump up, of course, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and then Noah Brown as well. Next game is at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Indianapolis Colts take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is a -4 favorite, -200 on the money line, 44 over under, 73 degrees, wind blowing west-northwest at 13 miles an hour. Next game is at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Carolina Panthers taking on the Miami Dolphins. Miami is one of the biggest favorites on the day at 14, -1110 money line, 47.5 over under, which I think is one of the highest on the slate. Yeah, it definitely is. It's tied with Arizona, LA. And then 87 degrees, 10 miles an hour, winds blowing to the west. At 4:05 p.m. Eastern, the New England Patriots are in Las Vegas taking on the Raiders. The Raiders are -3 favorite, -150 on the money line, 41.5 over under. The game is being played indoors. Then we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 7-point favorite, minus 315 on the money line. As I mentioned, tied with Carolina and Miami for the highest over-under at 47.5 indoors, so there's no weather. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Jets. Eagles are minus 6.5 favorite, minus 300 on the money line. 42.5 over under, 59 degrees, 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing northwest, excuse me. Then we have the Lions and the Buccaneers. Lions are minus 3 favorite, minus 165 on the money line, 43 over under, 79 degrees, 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing west to northwest. So that is it for the main slate today. We'll go ahead and look at the top plays. At quarterback, I like Justin Fields. He's 7,300 on DraftKings, 8,500 on Fanduel, $34 on Yahoo. He's been playing very well his last two starts against, I know they were against Denver and Washington, not two good defenses, but he has done very well. Has another favorable matchup against the Vikings today. They've allowed the 8th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. And I think without Justin Jefferson, that offense could kind of struggle. So their defense could probably be on the field quite a bit. So I think Justin Fields is in for a pretty nice day. My value quarterback, it's not like a huge value, but he's a little bit cheaper than Fields, is Matthew Stafford. He's 6,100 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel, $30 on Yahoo. At home against Arizona, they've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. We just saw last week what Joe Burrow did against them. And, Stafford has Cooper Kupp back now. So he's got Cooper Kupp. And then, Puka Nacua has really emerged. So Rams offense should have a really nice day today. We'll go to running back. Raheem Mostert is my favorite running back for a pay-up option. He's 6,400 on DraftKings, 8,500 on FanDuel, and $27 on Yahoo. They have Devin Achan, but he's been placed on IR. And so Mostert's going to be the lead back for the Miami offense, which is the number 1 offense in the NFL right now. Going against Carolina, they've allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to running backs this year. So I'm going to have Mostert in pretty much all my lineups today. Then we have some value options. Dante Foreman is a good value option, I think. It's a little bit of a tough matchup against Minnesota, but I think, like I said, Minnesota's defense could be on the field quite a bit today, and I think they can kind of wear down Minnesota. So I think Dante Foreman, he's almost min price. He is min price on Yahoo. He's 4,400 on DraftKings and then 6,000 on FanDuel. Rashawn Johnson and Travis Homer are both out, and of course, Khalil Herbert was placed on IR, so Foreman should be pretty popular, but he should see a pretty heavy workload too. The other value option I like is Chuba Hubbard. He's 4,300 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, and $14 on Yahoo. Miles Sanders is out for Carolina. So Miami, they've been about average against running backs. So it's a pretty good spot for Hubbard, and he's a nice value option today as well. Wide receiver, my favorite pay-up option is Cooper Kupp. You can pair him up with Stafford, as I mentioned before. He's 9,000 on DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel, $28 on Yahoo. Cardinals have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers this year, and everybody saw what Jamar Chase did against them last week. So Cooper Kupp could be in for a really nice day too. DJ Moore is my next wide receiver I like. He's 6,500 on DraftKings, 8,000 on FanDuel, $24 on Yahoo. Going up against the Vikings, who have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. He kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, DJ Moore did, but he's been targeted pretty heavily the last 2 games with 10 targets against Denver and 9 against Washington. Specifically against Washington, he had a career best game. He had 8 receptions for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns for 52 DraftKings points. So monster day for DJ Moore last week. I would expect some regression. The weather's not the greatest, but I still think, the Bears don't have a ton of receiving options outside of maybe Kmet and Mooney. So I think DJ Moore is going to continue to see a lot of targets. So I like DJ Moore too. The value option, if you will, he's kind of more of a middle tier, is Jacoby Myers. He's 5,800 on DraftKings, 6,700 on FanDuel, $16 on Yahoo, at home against his former team, the Patriots. Jacoby Myers, he's seen double-digit targets in three of his 4 games that he's played. He's only played in 4 games this year because he's been injured, but he is questionable, but I think he'll play. If he plays, I do like him. Like I said, he's seen double-digit targets in 3 of his 4 games that he's played this year, and it is a revenge game. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a break, go for some questions. Anybody have any questions I can answer? And we will also give away our 7-day trial membership if we have any non-members in the room. I don't know how much of a dumpster dive it is, but I like Josh Downs from the Colts. Jay Blazing, I think he's a good play. Let's see who else I like. I don't particularly like N'Keal Harry. Brandon Powell is the guy that I would look at from Minnesota. I like him for value, just like super value. Tim Jones is projected to be the 3rd wide receiver for the Jaguars. You could look at him. See who else I like here. If Marquise Brown is out, he's questionable. He's expected to play, but if for whatever reason he's ruled out, I think Michael Wilson is a decent play. That's probably about it as far as some value on wide receiver. Dub KJ, are you a member with us? Dub KJ, if you're there, if you could respond. If you are not currently a member, I would like for you to join us on the 7-day trial. So hit me up on this when you see this. Or actually, you can hit me up on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk, or you can send me an email at jpdavis1982@gmail.com. All right, well, let's go on to tight end. I like Logan Thomas. He's 3,500 on DraftKings, 5,400 on Fanduel, $15 on Yahoo. Atlanta has allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends this year. He saw 11 targets last week. He had 9 receptions for 77 yards, a touchdown for 21.7 DraftKings points. So Logan Thomas is going to be my top tight end. Value-wise, I like Cade Otton. He's 3,200 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel, $13 on Yahoo. The Lions have had a pretty solid defense this year, but they have struggled with tight ends. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points to tight ends this year, and Otton has scored double-digit fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. So I do like Otton as a value play. He's pretty cheap on all 3 sites. All right, in defense, I like Miami at home against Carolina. They're 3,500 on DraftKings, 4,800 on FanDuel, and $12 on Yahoo. Also like the Bengals, 2,900 on DraftKings, 4,200 on Fanduel, $12 on Yahoo. And then the Bears, they're kind of a GPP flyer. They're going up against the Vikings, who have turned the ball over the most. They've turned the ball over 12 times, more than anyone. So I do like the Bears as a GPP flyer for defense today. All right, my lock of the week is going to be the Dolphins over the Panthers. My upset for this week is going to be the Bears over the Vikings, which to me is not that much of an upset, but there really aren't that many great upset options this week, in my opinion. I see a lot of people picking Seattle over Cincinnati, but I think Cincinnati wins that game pretty convincingly, actually. For the prize picks or the parlay play plays, I like DJ Moore more than 4.5 receptions. Like I said, they just don't have a lot of great receiving options, so I think he'll be heavily targeted once again. Raheem Mostert more than 14.5 receiving yards. He should be at least somewhat involved in the passing game as well as the running game, so I like that. And then Cooper Kupp more than 85.5 receiving yards is going to be my last prize picks play. Does anybody have any other questions before we go for the day? Oh, man, Tannehill just threw a bad pick. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it. Before I forget, I do want to say shout out to Steve. Thank you for helping us for the last year, and appreciate everything you did. Enjoyed doing the podcast with you. For those of you who don't know, Steve has stepped away from doing NFL, so going to miss him. Appreciate everything you did, Steve. Hopefully we'll have somebody else that can join me on the podcast soon, so it's not just me you guys have to look at, but I hope everybody has a great Sunday, and we'll absolutely crush it today. And we'll be back again next week as we look to crush it in NFL, DFS, and Prize Picks. Thank you.